In the harsh lands of the Masai Mara, a male lion was born in 2011. He was raised within the Offbeat Pride under the shadow of powerful males in a world ruled by predators. He grew up alongside his mother, but what set him apart wasn't where he was born or his bloodline. What made him different was what life threw at him and the fact that he never stopped standing tall. Jesse had a brother when he was born, Frank. Their bond was not just one of kinship. They were born of the same blood, fed by the same pride, and learned survival side by side. They took their first steps together, slept in the same shade, grew up with the same scent, and both knew one truth all too well. Male lions can never stay in the pride forever. Nature had a simple rule. When males grow, they are forced out. And by the time they turned 3, Jesse and Frank felt that rule deep in their bones. They were cast out of Offbeat Pride. No territory, no females, no cubs to protect. Only hunger, danger, and an uncertain path ahead. Most males don't survive this phase, either dying of starvation or killed by rivals. But Jesse and Frank didn't give up. They moved for days and weeks. They studied scent marks, tested borders, and searched for opportunity. In 2014, they found it. Offbeat Pride. The dominant males of the region had grown old. Their scent marks were fading. Patrols had weakened. The lionesses were unguarded. The pride defenseless. Jesse and Frank saw the weakness and made their move. They didn't shy away from battle. They clashed with the old leaders. Dust, blood, claws, and teeth. It was a fight worth risking everything for because it meant survival, and they won. The old kings fled or died. The pride was now theirs. Jesse was just 3 years old. The lionesses accepted them. New cubs were born. Jesse was no longer just a survivor. He was a leader, a king, young, strong, and still with Frank by his side. In 2016, Jesse was ruling the Offbeat Pride. And like every dominant male, he had a responsibility to protect. But also to enforce the rules of survival. In one rare sighting, Jesse was seen expelling one of his subadult sons from the pride, a necessary act. In the wild, young males must leave once they come of age. They become a threat, either to the pride or to the new cubs. But moments later, Jesse returned to his younger cubs. And there, he was no longer the enforcer. He was a father, gentle, protective, and calm. Jesse knew when to be fierce and when to be tender. But you don't stay at the top for long in the Mara. In 2016, everything changed. One morning, Frank vanished. No signs of a fight, no tracks, no body. Jesse searched for hours, days, and then he fell silent. He turned his back on the pride and walked away. Some believed he left because he couldn't defend the pride alone, but those who had watched him for years said something else. Jesse was looking for Frank. This wasn't speculation. Jesse never claimed a new territory. He never kept a lioness by his side. He entered different lands daily, took different risks. This wasn't the behavior of a lion seeking dominance. This was a lion searching for someone. For 6 years, Jesse never stopped. And during that time, he never joined a single pride, never formed another coalition. He hunted alone, fought alone, and every morning he roared alone. The morning in the Masai Mara was calm. Half-Tail and Logal lay peacefully among their lionesses, but then a roar shattered the silence. Deep, bold, defiant. It was Jesse. The Nomad King was back on the scene. Half-Tail and Logal sprang to their feet. They knew that roar. And within seconds, the peaceful dawn turned into a wild chase. But Jesse wasn't just running. He was playing a tactical game. First, he led them away, then dropped low to the ground. He crawled through the bushes, vanishing from sight. While his rivals searched for him, panting and alert, Jesse had already doubled back. With attention focused elsewhere, he quietly slipped into the heart of the pride. There he was, face to face with a lioness. She didn't run. She seemed to recognize him, and mating occurred. This wasn't luck. It was strategy. Jesse had outplayed his rivals. He was older now, but his mind, still sharp, still lethal. That's why he wasn't just called the Nomad King. Some in the Mara called him the playboy of the plains. He'd lure his enemies away, charm their lionesses, and vanish without a trace. That was Jesse. Jesse never formed alliances. He chose solitude, because he was one of the rare lions who could survive without a pride. Around the same time, Jesse was spotted near the Offbeat Pride territory with lionesses by his side. He didn't conquer the pride. He didn't stay long enough to rule, but he had a way of pulling lionesses away from their pride males, whether it was through intimidation, charm, or sheer dominance. These were not lasting partnerships, just brief alliances. He mated with them during these short encounters, a few days together. Then Jesse would move on, like he always did. During his solitary journey, Jesse was once again seen around the Offbeat Pride territory. Observers noted his movements, careful but determined. He knew the risks of walking alone into a region ruled by younger males. But Jesse had another purpose. There, he interacted with a lioness. It was a quiet yet striking moment of connection. The lioness didn't shy away from Jesse. It was the kind of contact that disturbed the balance within the pride. Some observers believed mating occurred. Others thought it was simply a brief encounter, a sign that Jesse's presence still held power. But that closeness ended in tragedy. Shortly after, reports emerged that Jesse had killed the lioness. The reason remains unclear. Maybe she rejected his attempt to mate. Maybe Jesse was sending a message that he still held dominance. Or perhaps the tension in the pride had simply reached a breaking point. What's certain is this: a Offbeat Pride lioness took her last breath under Jesse's claws. This incident escalated tensions in the area, and soon after, Jesse came face to face with a male protecting the Offbeat Pride, a young and powerful lion named Doa. At the time, Doa was the only male regularly staying with the pride. His brothers, Koshoka, Chongo, Kibogoyo, and Kiok, were often absent, pushing deeper into other territories. This left Doa vulnerable, not just as a solitary protector, but also as a potential target for takeover. Some observers believed a temporary alliance could form between Jesse and Doa, two solitary males, both experienced in their own ways, perhaps willing to share the territory and strengthen their position together. For a brief period, the two were seen walking side by side, keeping a cautious proximity as if testing the waters. But the bond didn't last long. Eventually, tension rose between them. Jesse once tried to share a meal with Doa, an invitation that was rejected. That moment became the turning point. A quiet stalking began, followed by a sudden clash. Dust flew, paws struck, and the earth trembled. Despite his age, Jesse's fighting spirit remained unshaken. Doa was quick, but Jesse had experience. When the fight ended, Jesse disappeared, but Doa's face told the whole story. Deep claw marks around his eyelid, permanent scars on his face. Jesse didn't win territory that day, but he left his mark, one Doa would carry for the rest of his life. In 2021, Jesse was still defying the odds. He was seen barely a kilometer away from three of the Black Rock males, Oloemina, Lorcalup, and Olabor. They didn't see him, but Jesse seemed to sense them. He paused, then turned the other way, not out of fear, but calculation. Moments later, he was chasing off another male and a lioness. The young male fled immediately. Jesse nearly reached the lioness. She hesitated, but eventually slipped away. Jesse watched her disappear, then quietly lay down in the tall grass. Even at 10 years old, Jesse wasn't just surviving. He was still making bold moves, still commanding respect in the heart of the Mara. In 2022, the Mara witnessed an unexpected encounter. Observers spotted Jesse in the Black Rock area, facing off against Oloemina, one of the strongest young males of the time. This wasn't an ordinary border clash. Because Jesse was 11 years old, for a wild male lion, this was extraordinary. Most don't make it past 8 to 10. Their coalitions fall apart. Younger rivals overthrow them, but Jesse was still standing, and that day he chose to fight once more. Oloemina, young and muscular, wasn't expecting a challenge. When he saw Jesse wandering through his land, he mistook him for just another old drifter. But Jesse wasn't weak, just older, and this time, Jesse attacked first. Oloemina was lying down, resting, not caught off guard, but definitely not ready. Jesse closed in and struck. Oloemina was stunned, but quickly retaliated. The fight lasted minutes. Both lions were injured, but neither gained the upper hand. Oloemina's youth matched Jesse's experience. It was a challenge and a message. Eventually, Jesse backed off, but not like a defeated lion. He retreated with his head held high, never breaking eye contact. The Mara saw it again. Jesse was old, but still a fighter. Still the Nomad king. Later that same year, Jesse crossed paths with one of his sons, Jesse II. They recognized each other, a father and son.
That's it. Good.
Meeting in the heart of the Mara, they walked together, hunted side by side for a while, and many watchers wondered, could this be a father-son coalition? But it wasn't. Jesse II drifted away, and a few months later, he was killed. Jesse saw him for the last time and was alone once more. Nomadic life wasn't his choice. It was his reality. For a lone male lion standing against a pack of hyenas is madness. But for Jesse, it was just another day. 20 hyenas against one lion. He didn't back down. He roared, stepped forward, and took the kill from them. Because Jesse was more than just a lion, he was the definition of fearlessness. Being a nomad isn't easy for a lion. A lion's strength lies in his pride, in females, coalitions, and cubs. Jesse had none of that. Being alone means living on the edge every day, fighting for every water source, chasing every hunt alone, and praying to survive every night. But Jesse never gave in. His body was covered in scars. His ears were torn, his shoulders sunken, his teeth worn down. But he stood. He fought hyenas, clashed with other males, and survived. Observers had only one thing to say. We don't know how he's still alive. Sometimes he ran. Sometimes he fought. But he never bowed. He never surrendered. He had dignity and a purpose. Frank. Every morning he roared. Maybe it was a warning. Maybe he was still calling out to his brother somewhere out there. The years passed. The Mara changed. New kings rose. New territories were formed. But Jesse kept walking. In early 2023, Jesse was spotted once again, trying his luck with a group of lionesses, possibly from the Offbeat Pride. But this time, things didn't go as expected. He showed interest. But the lionesses were quick to reject him. When Jesse raised a paw toward one, the entire group turned on him in a flash. He didn't get a partner that day, only a warning. You're not welcome here. But even though he still looked strong, Jesse was nearing the end. At 12 years old, he had already outlived most wild male lions. The days when lionesses were drawn to him were long gone. His solitude was no longer a choice. It was becoming a reality forced by age and time. Young coalitions ruled the territories now, and lionesses preferred younger, more dominant males. But Jesse, he was still out there, still walking quietly, and maybe, just maybe, still searching for the scent of his brother. Time was catching up to Jesse, and after that brief encounter, he kept walking. That same year, Jesse returned to where it all began, Masai Mara North Conservancy. He was 12 years old, an advanced age for a nomadic lion, old but not broken. His eyes still burned with the same fire. He moved slower, but with purpose. In the wild, old males often return to their birthplace when death draws near. It's instinct. Maybe Jesse felt the end coming. Maybe he wanted to look for Frank's trail one last time. But the land was no longer his. The Ngoyanai Coalition, a group of 3 young and powerful males, controlled the region now. Jesse saw them. They were faster, stronger, fresher. But Jesse didn't back down. The fight began. Dust rose. Roars echoed through the bushes. Jesse was fighting against 3 young males. Jesse fought one last time. He wasn't afraid. He didn't hesitate. But his body could no longer keep up. His claws slipped. His teeth failed him. He fell. He used his last strength to drag himself away and collapsed under the shade of a tree. The sun was high. The wind was still, and for a moment, all of Mara seemed to hold its breath. The lone warrior was gone. Jesse died. No one by his side, but everyone felt it. Something was missing in the land. Today, his daughters still live in Offbeat Pride. They carry his blood. Jesse never found his brother, but every step he took was a step toward him. But Jesse's 6-year lonely journey is still being told. Because Jesse may not have ruled a kingdom, but he was a legend, a loving brother, the king of the Nomads. He belonged nowhere. But everyone knew his name, Jesse, the Nomad. He never bowed. If Jesse's story moved you, let us know in the comments. And if you believe his legacy deserves to be remembered, subscribe for more untold stories from the wild.